Alright guys, so here we are again. This is part 2 of the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 setup. So what I've got right here, this is the pedal setup that comes with Velocity 1. It's pretty heavy. It's not, it's not a million pounds, but it's got some weight to it, so it wouldn't move on its own if it wasn't connected to your rig, right? If you wanted to use this just on a regular floor. One of the interesting things before we get into the mounting of it, it has, let me show you with this camera, it has these pads here, these areas where these pads that they give you with 3M double stick tape can be attached, right? So what you could do is you could put these on here, and this obviously would be for a smooth floor, and it would give you a lot of grip. Obviously it has this one, well not obviously, but just so you know, it has this one large rubber strip here, and you would put these 4 pads on to make it, pretty much stable. This thing comes really well made and really well packed, so I probably believe that it would stay. Now if you're working on a carpeted surface, sometimes that could be a little bit more challenging, right? So they also provide these little guys with these little knobby pads, right? So these would then go here on the 4 corners, and I believe that would certainly hold the pedals in place, on carpet. So really well done. I really must say I do appreciate a lot of what Turtle Beach is doing here, because this is really nice. So on previously mounted to the rig, I had aircraft control pedals, and I also did at one point in time have Thrustmaster. The Thrustmaster pedals that you've seen on my smaller rig were at one point in time on my larger rig. And what I did was, when I built the rig, I made a frame for where different types of pedals would mount, and that frame in the front of the rig can tip up or down, because I wasn't sure when I was building mine, like exactly how did I want this to be, right? Because in a car, your pedals are a little bit more up and down vertical than they seem to be like here when you set them flat, on the floor or wherever. But so what I wanted to do was I wanted to have that flexibility where I could raise it up and sort of get comfortable, and of course you could move the seat forward and back as well. What I did was, on the old Thrustmaster, I had put this is aluminum that I cut out on my CNC, and you can see the holes that it used to have for Thrustmaster. I mentioned on the last video that I used these little knobs with with threads on there. It's like a bolt with a knob, and I essentially connected this down. And let me see if I can run more than one camera at once, but without showing you the whole room. So here, right, I've basically, I've made these slotted so that they give me a little bit of play, so that I can fit everything in there easily. But so you put this knob on there, and then that bolts into the 80-20. Now, as you can see here, I had to add some new holes because the dimensions of the Turtle Beach mounting holes are, of course, different than the Thrustmaster. So that's where this is going to end up going. These holes are for the bottom of the unit, and then still again the bottom of the pedals, and this is for the outside. One of the things I glossed over in the last video, and let me see if I can do this in a way that makes sense for you guys, regarding 80-20. So here's a small piece of 80-20 extruded, right? It's 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, And as you can see, it has, you know, these slots that come in handy. Now, and I had mentioned the ball bearing loaded nuts, right? So see this nut here? See, there's a ball bearing right there. And what that does for you, when you slide this, sorry, I can't hold this camera and do this all at the same time. Let me see. When you hold this, you know, and when you slide this into your 80/20 and not like that, if you slide it in straight, you'll get it to, hang on, I'm going to do this. Let me see if I can make this better. Okay, so when you slide this in here, the ball bearing will help align it, and see how it just sort of clicked in there straight, right? So now it doesn't want, I mean, it can still move, but it doesn't move freely, right? If I just shake it around, it doesn't move that much, right? So you take, so here's the knob that's going to go in there, and then there's just threads in there, you know, simple as that, and that's how this works. So I'm very happy with 80/20, as I mentioned here. Maybe down this profile angle, you can see how this sort of looks when it's in there. And then, of course, once you tighten it up, it gets real tight and pulls on the, you know, the bolt pulls the nut forward, so you don't have to worry about it coming out or coming loose. So that's how that works. So my plan here, and I've just got these two pieces. They look like, I don't know, lawnmower blades or something. I was thinking about, gosh, how dangerous would it be to make your own lawnmower blades? That would be scary. Not recommended. I'm going to put this piece here, is the longer one. It goes on the back side of the pedals, and I've got a smaller one that goes up front, and this will essentially fit right into the frame that I have for the you know, for the pedals in the rig, and that should all hold it in there. I'll take that to you and show you some pictures, or take you to it and show you some pictures of that once I get that in there. But if I don't have any problems, and I don't anticipate any, this should go pretty smooth, and this will be a short video. So let's head over there in a minute once I get this all bolted up. All right, so hey guys, back here in the Renaissance Man Studios. I got the pedals mounted into the rig, and I'll show you what that looks like. Pretty simple. The spacing on the two aluminum, what would you call them, strips or bars that I have, is different on the Velocity one than it was on the Thrustmaster that I had. So there may be a little tweaking I still want to do to get that to be perfect, but it's in there and it's mounted and it's not going anywhere. So for now it'll do. Here is the steering wheel control. Just wanted to show this to you because it is a very stout device, and like most of the steering wheel controls, you know, they have it's like a clamp that clamps it to the desk, right? So basically right here, you know, you've got these clamps here that will clamp it to the desk. So as you can see here, there's these doors, which are pretty snazzy, right? Because they close so that the bolts are not exposed for making changes. But anyway, and even in a little compartment on the right hand side, it comes with a essentially I call these Allen screws. I guess a lot of people just call them hex heads. But anyway, they you know, you use this tool or one similar to it if you have one, and you can adjust the tightness of the clamp underneath the desk, right? So most rigs have that same flat surface. If they're made from 80/20, most rigs have that 80/20 where this mounts directly on there. So that's what I plan to do. This is the small control sort of push button box, or button box if you will, similar to what I had purchased off of Etsy for racing, but this is the one that comes with the Velocity one from Turtle Beach. And what it does, and I'll sort of show you here with this camera, It actually slides right into a slot that's right here on the side, and then there are several bolt holes. It's pretty dark, but there's a couple bolt holes here that this bolts on, and that same Allen key tool has another size in there to do the smaller bolts. So I'm going to bolt this up. Oh, on the other side, same situation. It just doesn't have it has the storage area for a second wrench, but it only comes with one. But that's much better than anything Thrustmaster ever provided or any other manufacturer I've ever had. So I'm really impressed with this so far. So the next steps are going to be, let me get this bolted onto here. Let me get this whole unit bolted, or not bolted, but tightened onto the rig with the clamps. And then we'll be left with only installing the wheel itself and wiring the pedals, the shifter, the button box, and the actual steering all together, and then to the computer. And we will go from there and see how it works. We could be racing today. It is Friday, April 1st, 2006. It's probably 4 years since I started building this rig. And don't get me wrong, I've tinkered with playing some games and stuff, but never really seriously had everything bolted up and just could sit down and play, hopefully for hours. So I'm more excited than anybody about this. So let's see how that goes. And I'll get back to you in a few. All right, so hey guys, here we are back in the rig room, and I do have the steering control, the Turtle Beach Velocity 1 steering control mounted, and as we did before, the gear shifter and the pedals. And so here's what it looks like. I'm using this little camera for now, but you can see I'm running the 6 monitors right now. The 7th one's just showing windows, but I've got the leaderboard up there. I'm using SimHub. If you're familiar with that, SimHub is it's a piece of software that is running on the gaming computer, and then the secondary computer is just pulling up web pages from the gaming computer. So that is showing the leaderboard. This would be sort of information for me while I'm driving. Relative position on the track doesn't really matter on an oval, but it comes in handy on a road course or something that you're learning. And then other telemetry data there as well. And then over here, and I'm still working on this one, I've got the hardware information sort of from the gaming PC, so I can see my frames per second and sort of see how the CPU and the GPU are doing, load-wise and temperature-wise. The problem is there's no data there, and even when you're gaming and playing the game, there's no data. And then you can see, the 3 monitors here are doing Charlotte right now. But anyway, everything's working, everything mounted up nicely. So I'm pretty happy with that. The only thing I can say is I got to figure out why I don't get telemetry data. I assume I have to load something else on the gaming PC to start exporting hardware information to SimHub. That'd be my guess, but I'll figure that out, and we'll probably have to do a SimHub is a very complicated piece of software to me. There's so many different options in it. You could just spend days learning SimHub. Of course, days I don't have, but anyway, this is it. You can see the one flaw that I have so far, or one of many probably, but I don't have anywhere to put my mice, right? This is a trackball, and I just sort of sit it down on the floor, down by where I'm sitting. But and I use trackballs pretty much exclusively, just so that's a lot easier than using regular mice. But anyway, I don't know how to fix that. How to mount one somewhere that I can use it and still have it not be, in the way. So we'll have to work on that one too. But for now, We're going to call this a success, and I will see you on the next one.